Welcome to the Comic Station. This is a one-shot interview. Introduce you.
Hi, I'm Philip McNulty. I'm a local comic book artist out of Mount Laurel, New Jersey.
Alright. This is in addition to our regular Comic Station videos that we do weekly. So we're sitting down with Philip McNulty in the Comic Station store. To get started, where did you get your start? What made you want to be an artist?
Well, my dad collected comic books before I was born. So it's always been in the family, but it really wasn't until I was 3 years old and my mom bought me a Spider-Man coloring book. And the story goes is I ripped out the piece of the Spider-Man page and I flipped it over to where it was blank. I started drawing my own Spider-Man on the back, and my mom's like, "All right, pretty sure he's gonna be doing this for his life." So I've been drawing, I guess, since I've been 3 years old. I'll track it back to that. I've been drawing.
That's cool. So a lot of your artwork is you can see some of the examples here. A lot of it is indicative of probably earlier, like the 90s artwork design. Is that because you got started there? Or is that just your favorite point when the artwork started?
I guess it's when I call that my era of comics, because everyone's like, oh, the golden age and the silver age. Well, mine was just the modern age. People really didn't like the 90s with the hollow foil covers, but I loved everything about it. I loved the characters that were popular at the time. My favorite character is Gambit. I loved the X-Men in the 90s, and obviously I'm inspired by Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man, so it's that's always been the artwork that kind of speaks to me the most. So I guess I try to bring that back with kind of a little bit of a modern touch to it, but I'm always going to be a 90s guy at heart, and so I kind of like to bring that into the comics today. So.
And the reason you're here today is because you did some artwork for RZG Comics, and they're a small publisher in the Philadelphia area.
Yeah, it's run by Mariano Nazia. He was the editor of he was the art editor for the X-Men in the 90s. He has these ideas and characters, and I applied for the listing, and he saw something in my artwork that I guess he liked, and I guess the fact that he was from the 90s, in that time period,
your artwork fits that.
And my artwork, so there's kind of this, okay, maybe I'll take a shot on this guy. So I've been doing work for them ever since.
All right. So which ones have you been in so far? I know you said you weren't in the first phaser. You were in Blue Sultan?
Yes. Originally, Phaser 1 has artwork from all the different artists that were working or are working for the company at the time. So he wanted to expose everyone's artwork to this huge audience to kind of introduce all the other stories that were going to be there. Well, I was doing the part that I was getting was the Blue Sultan, which is the Doctor Doom of the RZG comic universe. So I was in the middle of doing it, and he was like, "You know what? I like this artwork. That I don't want to put it in the first one. I want to make it its own story. So he came up with the idea that starting with Phaser 2, they would flip. It would be a flip cover. Half the book would be a Phaser book, and the other side would be a Blue Sultan book.
That's very 90s.
Yeah, very hard. Yeah, because back in the 90s, they did these flip book covers to kind of boost sales of different characters. Like Wolverine and Ghost Rider were all the time, and so that's another. Ghost Rider, the 90s version of Ghost Rider is a very niche kind of character. He's not like the one you see in the movies, but he was the one that took on after that. So that's another. I guess another reason why my artwork kind of caters to that is because as a kid you got the best of both worlds. You got a Wolverine and you got a Ghost Rider. So
it's a good way to introduce new. If you like one, you could introduce.
Yeah.
So how did you get started at RZG, and how did you get that going?
I was right out of college. I was an illustration major, and I was basically known all my life. I've been known as the comic book guy. So my best friend out of college, she wrote me on Facebook, or on Facebook chatting, and Katie was like, Phil, you know, there's this comic book company. They're looking for comic book artists. You know, why don't you just apply for it? Here's the link. So I was like, okay, you know. I saw it. I was like, all right, I'll do it. And then I really didn't get a message back from them right away. So I guess I didn't know whether they had a lot of submissions at the time. So what happened was, you know, so I gave him some of my artwork was Gambit, and so his brother Fabian who writes for DC Comics today has written the best Gambit solo series that there was. So he saw that and was like, okay, I really dig that, so ever since he's like, here's a script, let's see what you got.
So basically, you went to school for artwork. You got your degree. You just applied. I assume you applied to a few places.
Yeah. It's funny because up until then, I went on a couple job interviews for a graphic designer job, and my portfolio is it's all illustrative most of the time, but I've done posters for like art shows and stuff, so that design element is in there, and each time the person would go, you should do comic books, and I was like, okay, well, I'd love to do comic books, but I also need to make some money if you want to give me this job as well, and so it was kind of the first time I applied here. It was kind of like, okay, let's just do this. And luckily, I've been going on.
In addition to some of the comics that you've done, you've also had some on T-Fury. If you're not familiar with the website, they do a lot of custom T-shirts, so very weird. Usually it's a mishmash of two genres put together in a funny way, or just a funny shirt together. So
after I was just trying to make always get my name out there. My one friend he loves Scooby-Doo and he loves Doctor Who, and I too am a Doctor Who fan. So I was like, oh, it would be funny if they mashed them together as Scooby-Who. So it was my first, so I did an illustration of it and I submitted it, and I heard back from them, like, okay, we're going to publish this. And they're like, okay, we need a website, we need a Facebook page. So I scrambled around and I put like Animated Phil as a moniker, and I guess that has stuck ever since, so they published that, and they also had a t-shirt from the show Chuck, published, just a Nerd Herd shirt, which is kind of like their, the Geek Squad from Best Buy.
Alright, so you were able to get some of your artwork not just in comics but on the T-Fury. You're starting in the comic realm here for the Blue Sultan. What advice, so we'll follow up, I'm sure what most people will be interested if they're watching this is, what advice would you give someone that's trying to become an artist, not just in the comic, but concentrated in that?
Never limit yourself, I think, is the thing. When I first went into college, I said, okay, I'm going to be an illustration major, and I'm going to only draw comic book characters. And it was kind of a shock to the system, because I walked in, and it was my first ever class was Intro to 2D Design, and it was like, alright, draw shapes. And then Graphic Design 1 was, alright, you're going to learn how to do stuff digitally. And then it ended up getting to the point where I had to take a painting class, a photography class, and art history class. So all those different art classes, makes you more well-rounded. You learn different techniques that you can apply into whatever artwork you're doing. Rembrandt and all the old masters, all the old painters, that is applied into every artwork you do. Just even learning the basics of anatomy. I mean, superheroes, when in comics they look so believable because, these guys actually studied anatomy and saw, even though their muscles are bigger than everyone, they're still the same basic as everyone else. So, to kind of learn and to evolve, and it's always like try to find your style, which is always, never try to adopt a style. Your style will find you. You don't have to find it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's been around is you don't want to study only comic books because then you're just going to have a certain style, especially comic books that you like.
Yeah.
You have to be able to go outside of that comfort zone and find something different. A lot of the comics that I review or I look at, I actually like artwork that stands out from the normal. That, like the recent release of Katana takes a lot of influence from manga. So if you never read the manga, you wouldn't have that influence. So yeah, I definitely think stepping outside of your realm is good.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's funny because when I took art history, I felt, you know, I guess superheroes are very pop artists, you know. But the one artist I fell in love with, his name is Roy Lichtenstein, and he basically just painted giant comic books. And the thing that, you know, you learn from him is that it's not really about like the comic book style or the painting. It's how he composed his image. It's why he selected to only show this as opposed to that. So I mean, and that fits right into the comic books. Is when you're doing panels, you want to make sure you show the reader what you want to show them, and so they can get to the next panel. And so you learn that from artists of past, that they really want, you know, that you can really compose something that's a piece of artwork. And I mean, you know, some people don't, you know, I've always been on this crusade to say that superheroes are art, and I think that Roy Lichtenstein was the first step into saying comic books are art. So I mean, as long as you learn how to compose a page or to draw, I mean, you're going to make a piece of art.
So where can people find you? You said obviously you have a Facebook, you have a website. So.
Yeah, my Facebook is facebook.com/animatedbyphil. It's just a fan page that you can request commissions, or, you know, check out some of my past T-shirt designs. I frequently post just updates of art that I'm doing. You know, some preview work of Phaser or Blue Sultan that's coming out. I also have my illustration blog, which is mcnulty1.blogspot.com, and that's just frequent with illustrations of, you know, Batman, Spider-Man, Doctor Doom, Green Lantern, Optimus Prime. You know, anything that's in the realm of illustration or, you know, pop culture, you're probably just gonna see me draw because it's what I do. I love to draw. So that's probably my big illustration blog that people, if you want to check out more of my illustration work and comic book work, all of the well, most of my Blue Sultan pages are up there with unlettered, so you get to see the raw inks of it all.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, it's for talking to me. It's really great.
Thank you for coming to the Comic
Oh,
Station.
no problem.
If you want to find any more, you can go to the Comic Station 1 on YouTube, or the Comic Station on Facebook as well, and thecomicstation.com is the website. Feel free to leave any comments if you want to see any more, any interviews, if you like this interview, what you liked about it, and continuing on from there. We'll hopefully be having more interviews and more of these special one-shots. Alright, this is Paul Nisi, and I'm signing off. Thank you.